Welcome back to the channel, ScooterATVSales.com. Boys and girls, so your parents bought you a Chinese dirt bike. So I have on the lift the Apollo RFZ 70cc dirt bike. It's a 4-stroke single cylinder, the DB25 by Apollo. It's the automatic version, 70cc with electric start. This also comes in the 4-speed semi-automatic. Now, I'm going to throw out some basic service tips for you boys and girls out there. Your parents purchased this dirt bike. Now, generally are all the same, whether it's the Apollo brand, Tao brand, it's generally all the same, you guys. So pay attention. This is something you should know when you own a dirt bike. You should be servicing it yourself, changing the spark plug, oil change, checking nuts and bolts, adjusting your chain. I'm going to go over some basic service tips for you guys. Let's start with oil change. This engine here takes just short of a quart of oil. This is the brand that we use right over here, the Lucas 1040 non-synthetic, or you can go with also 1030 4-stroke oil. We use the Lucas brand. There's other high quality brands out there as well. For your chain, making sure your chain is clean and always waxed properly or greased properly, we use the chain wax, this brand right here. It's a very good brand. And let's start with the oil change. All right, so you'll start with dropping the oil. There's a nut and bolt under here. Let's take a look right over here. You can see I marked it in red. It's this vertical one where my finger's at. Do not touch this one. This has nothing to do with changing your oil or dropping your oil. You want to loosen this over here with a 17 millimeter socket, as I have here. It takes a 17 millimeter, you'll put it up, you'll loosen it, you'll drop the oil, the nut will come out. So make sure you catch that nut, clean that nut when it does come out. It takes just short of a quart of oil. And then put this back in. Let's walk around to the other side. And this is where you're going to check your oil, right here where I marked it in red, and fill your oil. So you twist this counterclockwise, you back it out. You can see the oil mark there on the hash mark. All right, it should be to the top of the hash mark. You clean it off and then you put it back in. You never screw it back in to check it. You just look at it, and as long as it's to the top of that hash mark, you're good to go. So this is where you check and fill your oil. All right, we'll tighten that back up. Again, from this side here, you can see the oil check where my oil dump right here, where my finger is at. That's where you're going to drop your oil with the 17 millimeter as shown right over here. 17 millimeter, you got it. Spark plug wise, you guys, we use the NGK CR7HSA spark plug. You can buy those really at any parts store, AutoZone, Napa, or your local motorcycle shop. Here's your socket puller right here. You put this on here, you take out your spark plug. Generally, they're all pre-gapped. So let's put this back in. This is your spark plug. You do want to change this from time to time. Now remember, when you buy these brand new, you should run them real easy for the first couple hours and then do a full service on it and check all the nuts and bolts. Make sure that your pinch bolts over here for your shocks here are nice and snug and tight. So make sure you check both sides. Always check your seals as well. Make sure there's no leaks on your shock. Checking your wire harness. If it's an electric start, make sure all the wires look good. They're not frayed whatsoever or broken. They're not in the way of anything. This right here is your carburetor, of course. This is your choke, manual choke. You do want to replace your fuel filter as shown here. You can pick these up at just about any parts store or motorcycle shop. Let's go around here to your chain. Now this is your adjusting nut right here. You want to loosen this rear axle nut right here, and then this little nut right here allows you back this out, allows you to move the chain forward or back depending on what tightness. It should always have a little slack to it like it is right now. You'll find that the same thing on the other side here, right here. So you want to loosen both sides up, then allows you to move horizontally the wheel on the swing arm back here. Check your spokes here as well. Make sure that they're nice and snug all the way around. You could buy a spoke adjustment or spoke wrench, as they call them, to make your adjustments. If you don't have that, you can use something small like this. And you just go around here and just make sure they're nice and snug. Nothing's really loose. You can always grab it with your hand and see if they are loose, and then you just make them nice and tight. You should always also tighten these. This is how they're all generally set up. There's a lot of information on YouTube on how to tighten your dirt bike spokes, so I want you guys to fall back onto that. It's really simple to do. Again, you could have the tool itself, the spoke tightening tool, or you just use something like this, you guys. All right, so this particular model has drum brakes all the way around, so you want to make sure the adjustment is properly done. This right here on the RFZ DB25 here by Apollo, this is the rear brake activation here. This is how you want to adjust your rear brake as well on this side. You can turn this clockwise or counterclockwise depending on how tight and responsive you want your brake to be. And then this right up here, this operates your front brakes, which is our drum as well. Some of them are disc brakes in the front, depending which model, but this particular model has a drum. So if it was disc brakes, same thing. You want to check your hydraulic lines and make sure everything is nice and tight and there are no leaks or cuts in your hydraulic line. So these are the basic service tips, you guys, on maintaining your dirt bike. Dropping your oil, changing your spark plug, adjusting your chain, checking your carburetor. Right over here, when you raise the choke here on this side, this is how you adjust your idle right here. So you get a screwdriver, and you could turn this clockwise or counterclockwise, depending. Clockwise will increase your idle, and then counterclockwise will decrease your idle. And this one right here is your mixture. It's the air mixture fuel combination screw right here. So this generally you don't want to touch, but if you have to, you want to definitely adjust the idle in relation to how much you have this turned out. From the closed position, this should be turned out approximately 1.5 to 2 turns, depending what your elevation is where this bike is used. So I hope you guys find this well. This is basic service tips on your little mini dirt bike. You guys should be doing this at home. Should not have to take it to your dealer. If you guys do not want to bother with it, then of course we will service it. But, and I'm sure your local dealer will service it as well. But you should learn how. It's just like owning a bicycle. You got to repair your own flats. Make sure your tires here, besides your spoke, make sure that the tires have proper pressure in them. And you can always find the tire pressure information on the sidewalls here, located on the sidewalls, both sides of either tire. That's where they indicate the tire pressure. On the shock here, you can get a spanner wrench and a little wrench there that allows you to mount up here so you can adjust the dampening. What it does is, see these little notches over here? It allows you to move the shock according to the notch that you want, which it dampens the ride on your dirt bike, and a lot of ATVs have the same feature. Make sure your air filter is clean. If you're in dusty conditions, I recommend upgrading to a K&N or a uni filter. These are pretty decent, but they're not the best for real dusty conditions. Hope you guys are well. Scooter ATV Sales on Instagram. If you guys need some universal Chinese parts, it's scooteratvparts.com. Like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.